Rami was a boy who lived alone on the edge of a forest near a wide river. He had no family left, for his parents had passed away years ago when a sickness had spread through the human colony. Since then, he survived by learning how to fish, gather fruits, and build small traps for animals. His home was nothing more than a small shelter made from wood and leaves, standing near the riverbank where the trees gave him shade and the water gave him food. Though Rami was young, his eyes carried the weight of someone much older. He had seen enough hardship to make him cautious, but also enough loneliness to make him kind when he found someone in need. He did not speak much with other humans from the colony, for they saw him as just a poor orphan boy. He preferred the company of the river, the wind, and the quiet forest sounds. The river was dangerous and alive. Its water flowed fast, curling around rocks that jutted out like sharp teeth. Many times Rami had seen logs swept away by the current, smashed into stones and broken apart. He knew to respect the river, never underestimating its strength. One morning, as the sun rose above the trees and the mist began to lift, Rami walked down to the water with a net over his shoulder. He planned to catch fish before the day grew hot. The air smelled fresh, filled with the scent of damp soil and wet grass. Birds called from the treetops and the river roared in its endless rush. As he reached the shore, he froze. Across the river, he saw a figure standing at the edge of the opposite bank. At first, he thought it was just another human settler, but then he noticed the tall frame, the skin that shimmered with pale blue patterns, and the long staff in one hand. This was not a human. It was a member of the Taru, the alien tribe that lived deep in the forests beyond the colony. The Taru were known to the humans, but they rarely mixed. They were tall, graceful beings with markings across their skin that glowed faintly in the moonlight. They valued strength and wisdom, and they held to their old traditions. Many humans said the Taru distrusted outsiders, and some even warned that it was dangerous to approach them. Rami had never spoken to one before, though he had seen them from a distance when hunting or traveling through the forest. This Taru, however, was different. He was an elder with a bent back and a leg that seemed to fail him as he leaned heavily on his staff. His movements were slow and shaky. He stood at the edge of the river, staring at the rushing water as if trying to find a way across. Rami crouched behind a tree, watching carefully. He could see the elder take a step toward the water, then stop, his leg trembling under his weight. The river roared, uncaring of the elder's weakness. One wrong move and the current would drag him down. The boy felt his chest tighten. He knew what it was like to feel helpless, to stand before something bigger than yourself and not know how to face it. The image of the elder reminded him of his own grandfather, long gone now, who once told him that kindness was not weakness but strength. Still, Rami hesitated. The Taru were not his people. If the tribe found him interfering, they might grow angry. The human settlers also warned against getting too close to the aliens. Yet as he watched the elder sway unsteadily at the edge of the river, his heart pushed him forward. The boy took a deep breath, then stepped out from behind the tree. His small figure was clear in the sunlight, and the elder looked up in surprise. Rami raised his hand, trying to show he meant no harm. His voice was steady, though quiet. "I can help you." The elder tilted his head, studying him with eyes that shone like dark water. He said nothing at first, as if weighing the boy's words. Then slowly he nodded. Rami hurried to tie one end of his fishing rope around a tree on his side of the river. He tested it, making sure it was strong enough, then tied the other end around his waist. The water was cold and wild as he stepped into it, but he forced himself forward, gripping the rope tightly. His feet slipped on the stones beneath, yet he pushed on, feeling the pull of the river trying to drag him away. It took time and all his strength, but at last he reached the middle. He waved for the elder to come forward. The elder leaned on his staff, his movement slow but determined. Step by step he entered the water, holding on to the rope that Rami stretched toward him. The current pressed hard against them both. Twice the elder nearly slipped, and twice Rami pulled him back with all the strength he had. The boy's arms ached, his legs burned, but he refused to let go. Finally, with one last effort, they stumbled together onto Rami's side of the river. Both collapsed on the ground, gasping for breath. The water dripped from their clothes, and the elder's staff lay across the grass beside him. For a long moment, neither spoke. Only the sound of the rushing river filled the silence. Then the elder turned his head toward Rami. His voice was deep and rough, and his words came in broken human speech. "Small one. Strong heart, Rami blinked in surprise. He had not expected the elder to speak his language. The words were few, but they carried weight. The elder reached out, placing one long hand gently on Rami's shoulder. "You help Taru, elder. Brave. Kind." The boy did not know what to say. His chest still rose and fell with heavy breaths, and his body trembled from the effort of the crossing. Yet inside he felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the sun. The elder gave a slow nod, as if making a silent promise to remember this moment. With care, he lifted his staff, leaned on it, and began to walk away into the forest. Before disappearing among the trees, he turned back once and looked at Rami again, his eyes filled with something the boy could not name. Respect, perhaps, or gratitude. Rami stood there, water dripping from his clothes, staring after the elder until he vanished from sight. The river still roared behind him, but the boy no longer feared its sound. He had crossed it not only with his body, but with his spirit. That night, as he lay in his small shelter listening to the calls of the forest, he thought about what had happened. He did not know what the tribe would think if they learned he had helped one of their elders. He did not know if the humans in the colony would care. All he knew was that he had done what felt right, and though he was still alone in the world for the first time in many years, Rami felt as if he had a place in something larger than himself. The sun rose gently over the forest the next morning, casting golden light across the flowing river. Rami sat near the water with his fishing net, but his thoughts were not on the fish. His mind kept returning to the image of the elder he had helped. The sight of the tall figure leaning on his staff and trusting him across the dangerous river would not leave his heart. He wondered where the elder had gone after they parted. Had he reached his village safely? Would his people know that a human boy had helped him? These questions swirled in Rami's mind as he tied his net and dropped it into the water. The river was louder today. Heavy rain had fallen during the night and the water level had risen. Waves curled around the sharp rocks and the current was even faster. Rami watched the river with caution. He respected its danger, for he had learned early in his life that nature gave and took with equal strength. As he worked with his net, a sound came from the trees on the opposite bank. At first it was only a faint rustle, but then he saw movement. His heart quickened. Through the leaves stepped the same elder he had helped before. The tall figure appeared tired, his leg dragging behind him as he leaned heavily on his staff. Rami stood quickly. He raised his hand in greeting. "Do you need help again?" The elder looked across the rushing water. His eyes carried both pride and weariness. He spoke slowly, his voice carrying over the roar of the river. "River? Stronger today. Hard to cross." Rami glanced at the dangerous water. It was not like yesterday. This time the crossing would be harder, maybe even impossible for the elder alone. The boy felt fear rise in his chest, but he also felt determination. He could not turn away. He called back, "Wait there. I will come." Rami hurried to prepare. He untied the rope he had used the day before. This time he chose a stronger tree, wrapping the rope several times around its trunk to make sure it would hold. He checked the knots carefully, pulling them hard until he was certain they would not slip. Then he tied the rope around his own waist once more. His hand shook as he looked at the roaring water. Yesterday he had crossed when it was calmer. Today the river seemed like a beast waiting to swallow him. But he took a deep breath, reminding himself of the elder's words. Small one, strong heart. With that thought, he stepped into the water. The cold current slammed against him at once, stronger than before. His feet slipped on the rocks beneath, but he tightened his grip on the rope and leaned his body forward. Step by step he pushed himself through the waves. The rope strained against his waist and the water splashed into his face, but he refused to turn back. At last he reached the middle, where the water was deepest and fastest. His legs burned with effort. He turned to the elder and shouted, "Hold the rope." "Come slowly," the elder nodded. With his staff in one hand, he took the rope in the other and began to step into the river. Each movement was careful, deliberate. The current pushed against him, nearly knocking him down, but he leaned into the rope and moved forward. Rami felt the pull on the line as the elder's weight joined his. The boy planted his feet hard against the rocks, bracing himself. The rope stretched tight between them as the elder inched closer. A sudden wave hit, stronger than the rest. The elder stumbled, his staff slipping from his hand and vanishing into the water. He cried out, his leg failing him as he clutched the rope with both hands. Rami's heart leapt. The full weight of the elder pulled against him, nearly dragging him off his feet. For a moment he thought he would be swept away too. His arms ached. His body bent forward, but he dug his heels into the slippery stones. "Hold on," he shouted. "Do not let go." The elder gritted his teeth and clung to the rope. Slowly, painfully, Rami leaned backward, pulling with all the strength his small body could give. His muscles burned, but little by little he managed to steady the elder. Step by step they fought the river together. Rami guided him forward, calling out where to place his feet, pulling the rope tight whenever he wavered. The water tried to push them back, but neither gave in. At last, after what felt like hours, the elder reached the shallow part near Rami's side. With a final push, the boy hauled him onto the bank. Both collapsed onto the grass, breathing hard. Their clothes were soaked, their bodies trembling from exhaustion. The elder lay back, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. His staff was gone, swept away by the river, but his life was safe. After a long silence, he turned his head toward Rami. "You risk much," he said slowly. His voice was rough but steady. "River takes staff, but not elder." "Because of you." Rami sat up, still catching his breath. "I could not leave you there," he answered softly. "No one should face that alone." The elder studied him for a long moment. His eyes were deep, filled with something more than simple gratitude. At last he placed a hand on his chest in a gesture of respect. "Your spirit?" "Strong," he said. "Stronger than river?" Rami felt warmth in his chest at those words. For so long he had been just a lonely boy with no family, no place among humans, no voice among adults. Yet this elder saw him differently. He saw his courage, his choice to help, his strength that came not from size but from heart. The elder slowly pushed himself up, leaning on his knees. Without his staff, he moved with difficulty, but he stood tall. He reached out and rested his long hand on Rami's shoulder. "Someday," he said quietly, "others will know what you did." Rami did not understand fully, but he nodded. He only knew that helping the elder felt right, even if no one else ever saw it. The elder began to walk toward the forest, his steps slow but steady. At the edge of the trees, he turned once more to look back. His gaze lingered on Rami, then he vanished into the green shadows. Rami stood alone by the river, listening to the endless roar of the water. His body ached, his clothes were wet, but his heart felt light. He had faced the danger of the river and had not turned away. He had saved someone who was not even of his own people. That night, as the stars spread across the sky, Rami sat outside his shelter with a small fire warming him. He looked up at the stars and wondered if they watched over both humans and the Taru. He thought of the elder, of his respect, of his words about strength. The boy did not know what the future held, but he sensed that his life had changed. The river had tested him, and he had proven his courage. Somewhere out there, an alien elder carried the memory of a human boy who did not let the river win. And deep inside, Rami felt that this was only the beginning. Days passed after the second crossing of the river. Rami returned to his usual life near the forest, fishing in the mornings, gathering fruits in the afternoons, and resting under the stars at night. Yet his heart was no longer the same. The memory of helping the alien elder stayed with him every day. He often thought about the elder's words. "Someday others will know what you did." At the time, Rami had not understood, but the thought kept echoing in his mind. What could it mean? Would the Taru speak of him to their people? Would humans ever care about the bravery of a boy who had nothing? One afternoon, as the sun hung low in the sky and the shadows of trees stretched across the ground, Rami was mending a tear in his fishing net. He heard a sound, branches snapping, soft footsteps moving through the forest. He turned quickly, alert. He was used to animals wandering near his shelter, but this was different. These steps were heavy yet controlled, like trained hunters. Out of the trees stepped 3 tall figures. Their skin shimmered with blue markings, their shapes graceful yet strong. They were Taru, and they carried spears carved with strange designs. Rami's breath caught. He had never seen so many of them so close. He stood quickly, unsure if he should run or stay. His heart pounded and his hands trembled. One of the Taru raised a hand, palm open, showing no threat. His voice was calm, though deep and firm. "Human boy, come." Rami froze. "Why?" he asked, his voice small. The Taru spoke again, pointing his spear to the trees behind him. "Elder call. You helped. Now you come." The boy's chest tightened. His first thought was fear. Perhaps the tribe was angry that he had interfered. Perhaps helping the elder had broken some law. But then he remembered the look in the elder's eyes, the respect he had shown. He felt torn between fear and curiosity. The tallest Taru stepped forward. His tone was not cruel, but it carried weight. "No harm, elder wished to see. You safe?" Rami swallowed hard. He looked at his small shelter, his net, his few belongings. Part of him wanted to hide, but another part whispered that this was something greater. He had been alone for so long, ignored by his own people. Now for the first time someone was calling for him. Slowly he nodded. "I will come." The Taru surrounded him not as captors but as guardians. Together they walked through the forest. The path twisted under tall trees where sunlight broke into golden pieces on the ground. The forest was alive with sounds, birds calling, insects humming, leaves rustling. But Rami's mind was too full of questions to notice much. After some time, they reached a clearing. In the center stood structures made of wood and stone, shaped in graceful arcs that blended with the trees. Smoke rose gently from fires, and Taru of all ages moved about, children playing with carved toys, hunters sharpening their spears, women weaving cloth from fibers. Rami stared in awe. This was the Taru village, hidden deep in the forest where humans never came. It felt both strange and beautiful, alive with harmony. As they entered, many eyes turned toward him. Tall figures paused in their work, watching the small human boy among their warriors. Whispers passed between them, voices low but curious. Rami felt his cheeks grow warm. He wanted to look down at his feet, but he forced himself to stand straight. The guards led him to the largest structure at the far end of the clearing. Its entrance was shaped like an arch, decorated with carvings of rivers and stars. Inside, the air was cool and filled with the faint scent of burning herbs. There, seated on a carved stone seat, was the elder he had helped. The same tall figure with the bent leg, though now he sat with dignity, his staff replaced by a new one carved from pale wood. When the elder saw Rami, his eyes brightened. He raised his hand in welcome. "Small one," he said in his slow human speech. "You come." The guard stepped aside, leaving Rami alone in front of the elder. The boy's heart pounded as the silence of the chamber pressed around him. The elder leaned forward. "This boy," he said, his voice carrying strength. "He helped me. River strong, but heart stronger. Without him, elder lost. With him, elder safe." At his words, more Taru entered the chamber, leaders, hunters, and elders of the tribe. They gathered, listening closely. The elder pointed at Rami. "This human boy risked life. Not for self, for another. For me." A murmur passed through the crowd. Some looked surprised, others doubtful, but many showed respect. One tall warrior stepped forward. "Why would human child do this? Humans take, not give." Rami felt the eyes of the tribe burn into him. His throat was dry, but he forced himself to speak. His voice was soft, yet it carried truth, because it was right. No one should face the river alone. The chamber grew quiet. The elder smiled faintly, a deep warmth in his eyes. "Hear him," he said. "Not take, give, not fear, courage." For a long moment the leader studied Rami. Then the elder lifted his staff and struck it gently against the ground. The sound echoed. "This boy shows spirit, spirit of kinship. He is not only human, he is bridge." The word hung in the air. Bridge. Rami did not fully understand, but he felt its weight. The elder turned to him again. "You have no family, no tribe. But here, you not alone?" Rami's eyes widened. He had not told anyone about his loneliness, yet the elder had seen it. His heart ached, and his vision blurred as he fought back tears. For so long he had been nothing more than an orphan boy. Now before the tribe, someone was telling him he belonged to something greater. The gathering ended with quiet respect. Some Taru still looked uncertain, but many nodded in approval. The guards guided Rami outside, where the village was still alive with daily life. This time, the stares he felt were not only curious, they carried recognition. Children peeked at him from behind their mothers, eyes wide with wonder. Hunters gave small nods of acknowledgement. A woman offered him a piece of bread made from forest grains. Rami accepted it with shaking hands, hardly believing what was happening. That night, the tribe gave him a place to sleep in a small hut near the center of the village. As he lay on the woven mat, listening to the soft sounds of the Taru singing in the distance, Rami felt something new. For the first time since losing his parents, he was not alone. The elder's words echoed in his mind. He is bridge. Rami did not know yet what that meant for the future, but he knew this was the beginning of a path he had never imagined. And deep inside, the boy who once had nothing began to believe that he might one day have everything he had longed for: a family, a purpose, and a place among the stars. The first night Rami spent in the Taru village was filled with restless thoughts. He lay on a woven mat in a small hut, listening to the soft hum of insects and the faint sound of voices outside. He had never slept under a roof made by others. Until now, his only shelter was one he built himself with branches and leaves. The warmth of this place felt different, almost unreal. When dawn arrived, he stepped outside to see the village alive with activity. Children played near the fire pits. Hunters sharpened spears and women prepared food from forest roots and grains. The air carried the smell of smoke, bread, and sweet herbs. Many turned to look at him, the small human boy who had helped their elder. Some smiled faintly, others remained watchful, but none turned him away. A young Taru child approached shyly, holding a carved wooden toy shaped like a bird. She extended it toward Rami, her wide eyes curious. He hesitated, then knelt to accept it. The child laughed softly and ran back to her group. Rami's heart lifted. He was not just a stranger here anymore. Soon one of the tribe's women guided him to the gathering place where food was shared. She offered him a bowl of soup made from roots and herbs. Rami tasted it carefully. The flavor was strong but good, warm in his belly. He thanked her in simple words, and she nodded with a smile. Later, the elder appeared, walking slowly with his new staff. The tribe gathered around as he raised his hand for silence. His deep voice carried across the clearing. This boy helped when River tried to take me. His courage is not small. His heart is not weak. Today he learns with us. The Taru nodded, some placing hands over their chests in respect. Rami felt a mix of pride and nervousness. He had never been honored in such a way. From that day forward, the tribe welcomed him into their daily life. Hunters showed him how to track animals by reading broken twigs and faint prints in the soil. Women taught him to weave strong cords from forest fibers, stronger than the ropes he once used for fishing. Children laughed with him, showing him their games, and he taught them simple tricks with nets and small traps he had learned from his parents. At night, the people gathered by the fire to tell stories. The flames painted their faces with light, and their voices carried songs that spoke of stars, rivers, and ancestors. Rami listened with wide eyes. The elder often sat near him, translating parts of the tales into simple human speech so he could understand. "You see, Rami," the elder said one night, his voice calm and deep. "River is life. It gives, but it also tests. You crossed it with me. That means you passed a test of spirit, not only for you, but for us too." Rami nodded, though he did not fully understand. Still, he felt the truth in the elder's words. Days turned into weeks. Slowly, the boy's loneliness faded. He no longer woke each morning wondering only how to survive. Now he woke to voices greeting him, to children tugging at his hand, to hunters inviting him to join their walks. He was still human, still different, but the tribe had given him trust. One afternoon, as the sun lit the clearing, the elder called Rami to his hut. The boy entered and found the old one seated on a mat, holding a small carved box. The elder gestured for him to sit. "You have lived here some days," the elder said slowly. "You helped our children. You shared food. You listened to stories. You show respect. For that, I give you something." He opened the box and drew out a pendant made of carved wood. It was shaped like a river, winding and flowing with small lines etched into it to show waves. A cord of woven fiber hung from it so it could be worn around the neck. "This is for you," the elder said, placing it gently in Rami's hands. "It means courage. It means connection. When you wear it, you are not only Rami the orphan. You are Rami, friend of the Taru." The boy stared at the pendant, his heart heavy with emotion. He had never owned anything so precious. His fingers trembled as he tied it around his neck. The wood rested warm against his chest. "Thank you," he whispered. His voice shook, but his eyes were bright. The elder smiled faintly. "You gave me life when River tried to take it. This is a gift of trust. We remember." Word of the gift spread through the village. That night, the people gathered again around the fire. This time, when the songs rose into the sky, they added a new verse. One about a boy who risked himself to save an elder. A boy who was not of their kind but carried the spirit of kinship. Rami listened with tears in his eyes. He had once believed he was invisible, that no one would ever remember his name. Now an entire tribe sang of his courage. In the days that followed, he worked even harder to honor their trust. He helped gather food, carried water from the stream, and mended nets with steady hands. He laughed with the children, listened to the hunters, and learned new words of the Taru language each day. But more than tasks, he gave them what he always carried, his heart. When a child fell and scraped a knee, he was there to help. When an elder needed wood for the fire, he carried it. When the hunters returned weary, he greeted them with smiles. Slowly, the lines that separated human and Taru began to blur. One evening, as the stars shone bright above, the elder spoke again by the fire. "This boy is bridge. Between human and Taru, between past and future. Let no one forget." The tribe nodded in agreement. Rami looked around at the faces glowing in firelight, faces that once would have been strangers but now felt like family. He touched the pendant at his chest and felt its strength. For the first time in his life, he belonged, and though he did not yet know what lay beyond the forest, he sensed that the gift of trust he had received was the beginning of something greater, something that could change not only his life, but the bond between two peoples. Rami stood at the edge of the Taru village. The sun was rising slowly over the tall trees, painting the sky with soft red and gold colors. The air was fresh and carried the smell of leaves and water. Birds called out from branches, and the river made its steady sound in the distance. Rami felt a calmness in his heart. It was the morning of the ceremony. Today the Taru tribe would honor him. He had never thought his life would come to such a moment. Only months ago he was a lonely orphan who lived by the river with no family, no friends, and no hope. Now everything was different. The Taru people had prepared the ground near their central fire for the gathering. A wide circle was made with stones, and in the center a wooden platform was built. The elders of the tribe sat close to the fire, their robes decorated with beads and colors of the forest. Children played nearby, waiting for the event to begin. Warriors stood tall, guarding the circle, but their faces were not cold. They smiled at Rami when he walked past. Rami was nervous. His hands shook a little, and he looked at the sky as if it might give him courage. The wisdom keeper, the elder he had once helped across the river, noticed his unease. The elder walked slowly toward him, leaning on his staff, but his steps were steady. His eyes carried a calm strength. "Do not fear, young one," the elder said with kindness. "Today is not a test. Today is a gift. You will stand not alone but with all of us." Rami nodded. He felt warmth in those words. For so long he had feared being alone, but now he had people who cared. The ceremony began when the fire was lit high. Flames rose and sparks danced into the air. The tribe gathered in silence. A drumbeat started, slow and steady like the sound of a heart. Voices lifted in song. The Taru sang of the river, of courage, and of the bond between strangers who became family. The elder stepped onto the platform and raised his staff. His voice carried strong and clear. "We gather today to honor one who showed the truth of unity. A child of another people who had nothing yet gave everything. Who crossed the river not only with me but with the spirit of trust. His name is Rami. He is no longer alone. He is no longer outside. He is friend of the Taru." The tribe cheered. Their voices echoed through the forest. Rami felt his chest tighten with emotion. He stepped onto the platform as the elder called him. He looked at all the faces around him. They were not judging him. They were not pushing him away. They were welcoming him. The elder took a pendant from his robe. It was made of carved stone shaped like a flowing river. The surface was smooth and lines cut across it like water running between rocks. The elder placed it around Rami's neck. "This pendant," the elder said, "is the river itself. The river is strong, and it never stops moving. It can break rocks, but it also gives life. You carried me across the river, and now the river carries you into our hearts." Tears came to Rami's eyes. He touched the pendant gently. It was more than a gift. It was a promise that he was no longer lost. After the ceremony, the tribe celebrated. Food was shared, fires burned bright, and laughter filled the night. Children danced around the fire, and drums played faster. Warriors told stories of battles, but they always included a lesson of honor. The elder spoke of stars and journeys. And many came to Rami, not just to thank him, but to talk with him as a brother. One warrior said, "When we first saw you, we thought you were weak. But you showed strength not with weapons, but with heart. That strength is greater than any blade." A mother said, "You cared for our elder. Because of that, my children sing tonight without fear." Rami listened to all these words with humility. He did not feel like a hero. He only felt that he had done what was right. But he realized something important. Sometimes doing what is right is what makes a hero in the eyes of others. When the night grew quiet, Rami sat near the elder. The elder looked at the stars, his face lit by the fading fire. "You changed us, Rami," the elder said. "Long ago we believed humans were only takers. We thought they did not understand giving. You showed us that was not true. Now our people will walk a new path. We will not see humans as distant. We will see them as neighbors." Rami asked softly, "And what about me? What path should I walk?" The elder smiled. "Your path is wide and open. You may stay with us, learn our ways, and live as one of the Taru. Or you may go to your own kind and carry our story to them. Wherever you go, you will carry the river with you, and the river connects all paths." Rami thought about this deeply. He had no family among humans. But maybe his place was not about blood or birth. Maybe his place was wherever people trusted him, wherever he could help, wherever he could belong. Days turned into weeks. Rami stayed with the tribe, helping with fishing, learning to weave baskets, and sharing simple tools he had used as an orphan. He taught the children small tricks with rope and hooks, and they laughed with delight. He listened to the songs of the tribe and added his own voice. Slowly, he became part of their daily life. Yet the story of what happened spread beyond the forest. Human settlers heard that a boy had been honored by the Taru. At first they doubted it, but when they saw the boy wearing the river pendant and walking safely through Taru lands, they believed. Curiosity replaced fear. Some humans even asked Rami to speak for them when they wished to trade with the tribe. Rami became a bridge between the two people. He was not trained for such a role, but his honesty and kindness made both sides trust him. He carried words from humans to Taru and from Taru to humans. Disagreements softened and small acts of cooperation began. Where once there had been suspicion, now there was a chance for peace. One evening, as Rami walked along the river, he looked at the water flowing past. He remembered the day he helped the elder across. That single moment had changed everything. He had thought it was only a small act of kindness, but it had opened doors to a new life. He whispered to himself, "I was once alone, but now I am part of something greater. The river carried me here." The elder's words echoed in his mind. The river never stops. The river connects. And like the river, Rami would continue to move forward, not as an orphan, not as an outsider, but as a symbol of unity. That night, the stars above shone brightly, and the sound of the river carried far. In that sound there was no loneliness, no fear, only belonging.